Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mike's Plus One Plus One, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, mana traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like yourself. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Wrestler.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, and to introduce our guest, Ruben, take it away.
VeggieWagon is a Magic video content creator known all across TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and anywhere else Magic the Gathering videos are shared. He's an MTG streamer, a co-host and editor of the Decked Out podcast. He is a member and the chief editing officer of Top Deck Studios, and of course, he is surely best known as playing Gustav Inc. on the hit D&D live play show Dgens and Dragons. Please welcome VeggieWagon.
Yay!
Man, that guy sounds really cool.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things for like organizations that don't quite have the right names, but pretty close.
Sure.
Yeah. Close.
It's like 4 words, you mix them up how you want, and then you spit them out, and generally you've got something correct.
Yeah. Hopefully whatever the words I said could be arranged in an order where they are correct.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show. Now, if you missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. But with that, we start the show with outside assistance. We've chosen a question from the comments in our last Plus One show, and that person gets $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com. Nerd Girl, what is this week's question?
All right. Well, this week's winner is, or this week's question and gift certificate winner is from Jay Salas. So they base this question off of the Talia Vest Plus One, and they want to know, Veggie, do you have a question that you would like to ask the hosts?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just... No.
That's fair.
That's it, right? It was just a yes or no question.
Yeah, perfect.
So,
Correct.
okay. A question that I'd like to ask the three of you is, if it was the zombie apocalypse, who is the other host that you'd want to pick to survive with you?
Of the three of us, or add a fourth person?
You can choose me, I guess.
No. Well,
But
so yeah, okay. So of
yeah,
the
you, obviously yourself. Yeah, you have yourself.
Well, first of all, no,
Alright.
I'm not
Okay.
choosing myself.
Okay.
I'm
I
type
see, I
1.
see what you're saying. Okay.
I'm type 1
Yes,
diabetic.
of the three, I think that's the best way to put the question. Of the
Okay.
three of you, who do you think the two that would survive best in the zombie apocalypse are?
So I have to choose Evan or Ruben, and my life depends on it. I don't like this question. I
So-
feel like I'm dead either way.
Yeah.
So I feel like
yeah.
the pro play is probably to pick who I think I will die the fastest with.
Yeah, I think I could keep you safe for longer. I think I would put that bet. And so, yep. Rube's out.
I'm type 1 diabetic, so I'm dead in like less than a month anyway after the zombie apocalypse.
I'll
So
go with Evan.
I'll jump on the
think
grenade for that one.
No offense, Ruben, but
None taken. You should. This is if we need to eat a corpse to survive the winter like the Dahmer party, we're good. Don't worry.
I will say, the one thing you want during the zombie apocalypse, a wetsuit, because human teeth cannot puncture a wetsuit. That's true.
Weird.
Why do you know that?
Because I'm weird and it's important. So the first
Great.
thing we do is we break into the scuba shop. We're great.
Break
Awesome.
into the scuba shop. All right.
That's right.
All right.
Step
cool.
1.
I mean, yeah, I think that pretty much solidifies it, right? For sure, you want Nerd Girl, and anybody else, you're probably fine.
It's fine. It's fine. She'll show us the way that human teeth can't penetrate certain things. Cool. Well, thanks, Jay Salas, for being part of the show, which we appreciate. And so let's move on here to the main phase, as it were. So, VeggieWagon, I guess let's just get started with, where did that nickname come from?
I was on a road trip with my father, and a truck full of vegetables passed by, and he's driving. He just looks over and goes, "Well, that's a VeggieWagon right there," and just keeps driving. And
nothing.
like nothing. And it took me a moment to process that is not a phrase. that's not a thing. A VeggieWagon is not a something. But he said it with such nonsensical confidence that moment and that phrase stuck with me. And I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want in life. I want to be that confident in my nonsense that I can, even for just a second, will it into existence.
I love that. That's a great origin story.
And very on brand for the content that you create.
Yeah, well, go ahead. I was just going to say, how do you, at this point, and I have someone sort of on staff at Cool Stuff who I hire to make content like you do. I know it's not easy. And so how do you kind of come up, where, this is the, where do you get your ideas from type question.
Sometimes they write themselves. You'll be on Twitter and you'll see somebody has posted, oh, here's a new preview that's come out, and the post immediately below it has nothing to do with it. Will be like, Lady Gaga's new song is very weird, and then you're like, and that has happened a number of times, where just like weird happenstance, there's a song on at the grocery store, and you pass a can of peas that reminds you of some sort of magic thing, and you're like, and the electricity lights up your brain. And then the other way around is when you have to try to make things instead of like letting the inspiration just hit. And then usually what I will start with is something that I like. So I'll start with a song that I like, or I'll start with a specific, like, I don't know. I did a Lord of the Rings joke the other day, and it had been one that I was like, I want to write something Lord of the Rings because it's the set's coming up and things like that. And I was like, okay, now let me just like list off everything that every connection I can see between like a fun moment in Lord of the Rings and like something that's happening in the magic world. And then that becomes your inspiration board, and suddenly you're like, you've got the strings and the pins, and you're like, great, okay, and then this thing, and that sounds like this, but if this character was instead playing magic, all right. And then you're like super deep in, you'll have this very convoluted like thing written out in like the notes on your phone, and then you erase like 90% of it to find the one joke. That's it.
Yep. That's the writing process. Mm-hmm. Sometimes writing looks like staring at your keyboard for 8 hours and closing your laptop. That's what writing is sometimes. It just is. And then sometimes it's waking up at 3 a.m. and scribbling furiously, passing out, waking up, and not recognizing any of the words that are on the page. This is the process of a creative. So yeah.
I will say it's interesting. Veggie moved out here to work on our Commander show, and I've worked with lots of different content creators, but I've never really worked with like parody person / like comedian. So it's very weird because sometimes I'll just go out into the hall in the morning and I hear singing and I'm just like, what is happening? Or my living room will be taken up by a giant green screen and he's dancing in this like sort of elaborate costume, and I'm just like, what is happening?
Yep.
So it's very, very fun to get to see some of this behind the scenes stuff. So one of the things we wanted to pick out, Veggie, is we're going to play a short clip for those of you guys who are watching on the YouTube channel. And this was an impersonation that you did. So we're going to play that clip for them for just a second, and then we want to pick your brain about it.
Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, is it worth it to buy a cheese plate to share with your friends on Commander Night? The snacks that you bring to the Commander table are just as important as the game itself. Now, I know it can feel like there's a new snack being released every other week. But I digress. Today we are going to be looking inside this so-called Party Slices product to see if it's worth it for you as the consumer. Each package contains 7 slices.
So welcome back for our YouTube listeners, and or what just happened to the audio listeners, where we played the Tulare Community College parody, where we were talking about are the cheeses right for you as the consumer. So Veggie, tell us all about how that came to be.
Yeah.
I was setting up a charity event for my stream, and I knew that I wanted to do something different but big. Like, I didn't have a lot of resources to work with, but I had whatever unique thing that I could do was. So I had done a few impersonation videos before this point, and a lot of people had been asking for this one in particular. So I knew that would be the thing. Putting it together, that's a whole process. Because for an impersonation, it's like a parody of a person. But for both of those things, for impersonations and for parodies, in my opinion, there is a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it, and both get done. For me, it's very important that a parody or an impersonation is a tribute to the material, that it is that you are respectful in the comedy that you produce from it, and that you have to know it well. So, and you're of course then creating that for the audience that was already knows the person or already knows the song. So we want to reward them for knowing the things that you're doing. So I had to like, I had already seen a bunch of the professor's videos, who hasn't, but then I had to go back through and be like, all right, what are the essential things that make him him? At least when you see him on a video, and like how do you pare that down? Because ideally a brilliant impersonation is you do a single thing and everybody's like, I know exactly who that is. Oh, I know exactly who that is. The more elaborate that you get with it, it becomes less of a comedy impersonation and just more of like, oh, you are like cosplaying or acting as that person. Mm-hmm. But if we want to do this for comedy, you pare it down really really shortly. So the things I picked out, I'm trying to think back to that process. There was a specific like vocal cadence. Mm-hmm. He likes to talk in a specific way. Everything is very enunciated and kind of goes in a cycle.
And it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the physicality has a big part to do with it as well. Your hands were, he's very much sort of flowing like Tai Chi style with his hands as he's going through the script. It was very clear that you did your research to sort of master his his foibles, and it definitely comes across as a homage, not as satire requires a clarity of purpose or else it could be mistaken as criticism. Mm-hmm. And you very clearly knew the purpose of what you were doing, and oh, by the way, matching it up with this absurdist humor of cheese singles.
By singles,
by singles, not to spoil the punchline, but that was like, it really wrapped it up in a nice bow there. And yeah, it's just a really impressive piece of comedy. As someone who used to make a show, that was a comedy show, but used only Magic the Gathering. It's a lot harder to make you can do a comedy show and have the comedy come from anywhere. To have a comedy show that only takes from a small subset of input, and then you have to make a comedy show after that, that's very difficult. And there's a very small list of people who've done shows like this. It's, I did the Newsning, you do your TikToks and videos. MTG Remy is another one who does stuff like this. Mm-hmm. But it's very difficult to take that narrow set of subject and go from there. What was your experience with comedy previous to making specific Magic content?
Well, I used to work full time as an actor, and so especially things like the impersonation, and being able to understand it, like the timing of comedy and how to like direct myself. That all came from from job experience and training. I don't have any like specific comedic training from that. Like I didn't have the I didn't go to like any improv like comedy classes or groups, but just naturally the roles I was getting cast in for whatever things were comedic roles. Who would have guessed? And so it was a lot of learning that from good directors and from good writing. And then once you're exposed to enough of that, then you start to understand how you can put that together for yourself.
Like the punchline is so good. Now, did you start with the punchline and work your way backwards, or did you start working on it and you were like, oh my God, I got the best punchline?
Ooh, all right. That's a great question, because you'll go one of two ways. You'll either like, all right, here's the concept, what's the punchline, or here's the punchline, how do I build that into something? This for sure started with the punchline. And I was like, okay, that's very, very silly, and I could, if it's set up well, I think it would make a lot of people laugh. But like, what length do I have to go to make it, make sense in a weird way until you get there? That's actually how a lot of the parodies end up as well. Is like, I'll hear the chorus to something popular, and like 3 words will replace themselves with a magic card, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, yes, I love that. Now what goes everywhere else? But yeah, that for sure, buy singles, first line that was written.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to say about the video, because we've gone over most of it, why on earth did you ruin your Ragavan playmat by putting the cheese directly onto it? That was hard to watch.
Okay.
Get a paper plate, man.
It's a weird takeaway, but sure.
Yeah.
For that reaction. No,
I was just like, no.
Yeah.
Right, but that's a thing that you think about, because it was like, okay, I could cover it with something, or I could put it I could put somewhere else, but like that specifically was important to me, because you're watching those videos and you're seeing the unboxing of a product, and it's done in a Magic product space.
Yeah.
And
it got a reaction.
Right. The only way that I can recreate that is with a playmat, and then like that, like that adds to the comedy of the moment, like where otherwise I'm just doing this like on a kitchen table, which makes more sense and thus less funny, or I've got like I'm keeping it in the thing on top of a playmat, and then that like a more controlled is also not not as funny, because it takes away from what you're focused on.
Nice.
Also, to ruin then all of that, I made sure that the cheese was like dry first, so that there if it helps you. if it helps you, nerd
that will
girls,
help nerd girls
yeah.
sleep at night. Yes.
Yes.
Did not damage the playmat. We did it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Or the cheese.
Mhm.
Even though the cheeses were unsleeved, except for the singles. But yeah, you do have a lot of I suppose that it is the nature of the format to need to latch onto something in popular culture, but certainly your comedy skits and your parodies are very rooted in things you're very clearly passionate about. Like there's not a lot of, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of this thing is popular, therefore I'm going to make fun of it or make fun with it. Most of the things that you pull from, it seems to me, are things you loved already. And so that sends me in a different direction, which is you have so many varied interests, it seems, with which you pull from. You made a very good, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sort of voiceover video. You made, as you referenced earlier, Backstreet Boys and Lady Gaga and lots of music. What are your main hobbies outside of magic and making content?
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
There's other things you
fair.
can do, like
Right.
what?
Yeah. You can magic or you can
Previous
other.
to only
but
right,
yeah.
previous to only doing magic 24/7 365, what were your hobbies before everything went away?
There was a lot acting was a hobby that turned into a profession. And with that came a lot of like sub hobbies. Then I enjoyed like singing, and I liked writing parodies about general things. I was a dancer for a long time, and I even taught classes in multiple styles, and really loved that community, and was pretty deep in there. A lot of games, clearly a couple different card games that I've played over the years, and board games, video games. If it's something that I can beat somebody in, then I'm interested. I would say those are the main ones, because especially a lot of your time can be taken up with the right game, and when you're moving a hobby into a job with the acting, then you do have to put a lot of time into it.
Nice. I do want to steal the show here for just a second to move us along, just because there's one other short video I wanted to share with everybody. And we've talked a lot about your creative process for your own stuff and inspiration coming from, the grocery store or a song that you happen to like, something along those lines. But I've noticed that you're starting to do more stuff with like wizards, and you've been featured a couple of times on the official Wizards TikTok. So we're going to play you guys a quick clip of the latest video that Veggie put up for Wizards. And then I'd like to hear a little bit about your creative process after being given some sort of prompt for something so specific.
You got to make a TikTok. So how does this whole thing happen? Does Wizards contact you? Do they tell you what they want? Do they tell you what they're looking for? Stuff like that?
Yeah. They'll give me a pretty vague prompt, but with some things that are like, we really would like for these to be involved. And so for that one, it was, we want it to be about MTG Arena, and we want it to be about the new set, which at that point was 1.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, though. So they're like, those two things, and know that it is for TikTok. I was like, okay, that is not specific enough. Those are actually tricky for me. When you get a general thing that's like, hey, we'd like do something about like magic, I guess, and it should be funny, and maybe put yourself in it. I'm like, oh, good. That's now that narrows it down.
And how long of a time frame do they give you to sort of work on that stuff? Or do they tell you if we want it by X, we want it by Y?
There's always a deadline. And I think each time I've had a few weeks to come up with it. So I think that's pretty generous for TikTok that is, usually under 30 seconds.
I like that they give you the time to have the creative process, though, because I can tell you from the other side of that, making videos for the Wizards YouTube channel, which I've done, they've told me we want a how-to draft video done on the day of the streamer early access event, and we want it the next day. And I'm just like, wait a minute. How do I learn the format and
and not look
so
silly?
I'm glad that they give you a chance to be funny, because I think the videos would definitely suffer otherwise.
Yeah, in fact, this one would not have it would for sure not have been what it is if I had not had that time, which I then squandered. And suddenly it was a few days before and was like, you have not come up with a good idea for this. This was the backup. I didn't think this was a good idea when it was first in my head. I was like, okay, if I can't think of anything, I guess we'll do this.
And your costume
Yeah,
in this
what'd you
video
do?
had some very, very specific choices. I'd like to hear your thought process a little bit on how you came up with your Elish Norn cosplay.
I mean, you got to lean in. And that's where the comedy comes from. I am for sure not a technically skilled cosplayer, and I respect so much what very good cosplay artists are able to do with what they do, but that's not me. So out of necessity, all of my cosplays have always been very simple, and then I try to figure out how to make it funny because of that restraint. For this, I originally just knew, okay, I'll do Elish Norn doing this TikTok dance that is popular right now. That's why I didn't think it would be good, because it was like, okay, it's just a dance, and it's just, how am I going to do Elish Norn? And then born out of that desperation of like, all right, well, it's down to the wire. I'm literally just like scouring my room and the things that I have. I'm like, all right, what do I have here that will work? There were some white coat hangers in the closet, and I was like, oh, okay, let's arrange these. How? Boom. Okay, great. This is funny because it's bad. So what other things? I just, okay, more white things that are easy to work with. I was like, okay, maybe like I could use a sheet or something, but I don't have any like sheets that are readily available. I'm not going to cut up what I have here. Okay, paper towels. We'll throw that on top. Great. It clearly looks like they're paper towels that are wrapped around a coat hanger. Done. And then I started looking at the rest of Elish Norn's outfit, and I was like, okay, let me just match colors, and whatever the thing is, great. Found I like a maroon shirt. There's the body. And then I was in the bathroom with the mirror to look at how things were, and there's the roll of toilet paper. I was like,
perfect.
Just meant to be.
Yeah, it reminds me of, there's a famous Carol Burnett show sketch where they're parodying the Gone with the Wind, and Carol Burnett is wearing like the drapes from the window, parodying how fancy and hoity-toity the folks in Gone with the Wind are. And it reminded me of that, of sort of like, this is, if you blur your eyes, this looks like Elish Norn, but if you pick at it, you're like, are those coat hangers, right? Like, but the point isn't to pick at it. The point isn't, you're supposed to pull back and get the view to appreciate the satire of it, which I really appreciated.
All right.
And once you notice that they're coat hangers and the price tag is still on the bra, you get the extra chuckles, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Now, before we move on to the end, I do have another question, which is, what ideas haven't you done that you feel like are on the horizon, that you're willing to share? What is something that hasn't been parodied or referenced or created that you're like, someday I will make fun with that?
Ooh, okay. Let me see if I can. I'll tell you right now. That full list exists and is locked away, safe in my phone. But if I can cherry pick from it, I am actively working on a full pop punk Magic parody album.
Whoa.
Wild.
Yeah. I'd like to do that in the style of like a compilation CD commercial. So you'll just get these back-to-back snippets. I did a similar video a while back, which was all holiday songs that were done with Magic parodies, but this one I'm gonna try and go hard with.
I have a band title for that if you don't have it written down.
Oh, please.
Blink 187. Because 187 creatures are the comes into play abilities, and blink is what you do to the creatures. Anyway, we'll move on from that. There you
It
go.
works.
You can
It
see
works.
You can
You
put that
had
one.
that too easily at hand.
Right. He just had that
Listen,
going.
And he said pop punk too. Like, I mean,
we're on the same page. It's
Yeah,
fine. We're good.
I understand that, where you just have a bunch of like these little things that are floating around in your head constantly, and you're like, this needs to be a thing. I just need where it goes.
Yeah, I can't use that. Here, take this. This is. Yeah,
What's the right
this is why
term
writer
phrase?
rooms exist.
Yeah. What's the right
Anyway,
term phrase to
sorry,
make
I didn't mean to
Yeah.
derail
the
the
stuff go? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was. Go ahead.
I'll give you one more. This is a long work in progress that I think is very difficult, especially considering. Well, you'll know why, considering the MTG Nerd Girl impersonation is a thing that for sure will happen at some point. Now
Amazing.
I actually get to study every day.
Yeah. You also have a set that you can use.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
yeah, you can record it from in here if you want.
Well, that's yes.
Yeah.
Of course. And that sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. But we must turn the corner here to the fundamental turn. That is, of course, thanks to our co-sponsor, Mana Traders. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. Show them some love with the promo code MAGICMICS. When signing up for a subscription plan, you get 12% off. Try out and play all the sweet and unique formats that only Magic Online has available. And now, on to the fundamental turn. Again, these are quick, off the top of your head questions. Ideally, we can answer sooner than later. So let's get started here with, what is your favorite thing about Magic?
Doing something that nobody's ever seen before.
Old border or new border?
Old border.
Favorite set?
Onslaught.
Favorite mechanic?
Morph.
Favorite deck?
Tempting Worm. Rocco. EDH.
Card you wish you never got rid of?
All of my dual lands for 2 digits.
Ooh. Best advice you repeat?
Don't have a backup plan.
What do people get wrong about you?
That I'm a vegetarian.
What do people get right about you?
I don't know.
Okay. That's fine too.
Hey, you're a funny dude.
Funny guy. That's you, buddy.
There you go.
What makes you happy?
Getting to work on things that I'm passionate about.
Failure means?
That I'm doing it right.
And success means?
That I'm that I don't realize what's going on.
Fair enough. And that ends the fundamental turn in another episode of Magic Mike's +1+1. And finally, VeggieWagon, where can people find you on the internet?
That's where, on the internet. But you can find me at VeggieWagon on most platforms, Twitch and TikTok and YouTube. and then at VeggieWagon Ye on Twitter, because a food truck in North Carolina already has just VeggieWagon.
Fair enough. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. This was great.
And thank you, VeggieWagon.
Anytime.
Absolutely. We'll move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffing.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler, our special guest, VeggieWagon. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics +1+1. Good night, everybody.